It's good to be back, but I've been on a journey, an eye-opening journey. But first, I give all the glory to God. It's God that put me in the train when you come up to Glasgow. God that put me in the bus to Glasgow to the airport. And it was God that definitely put me in the aeroplane to go over to London and over to Albania. But what a time I've had, as I say, it's affected me. So I get a bit emotional. You know what I mean? That's what God makes you vulnerable, you know what I mean? That's what He does. So, basically, what Living Water is, that was the organisation I was away representing. It feeds the children in Albania, and there's so many need fed over there. The children are the face of it, but it's the children and their families that get fed. There's over, at the last count, there's over 900 families were getting fed with living water. And there was 900 families needed fed with living water. But they're such beautiful people. I've never met people like them, you know, even in abject poverty. They're such beautiful, beautiful people. Beautiful country. It's just, as one of the pastors had told me, in the last 2,000 years, they've had 30 years of peace. The Romans, then the Ottoman, then communism, and then the militias. So this last 30 years has been only 30 years of peace in 2,000 years. And they're starting to build their country back up. There's no railways, they don't have any railways over there. Everything's basically with car, they go with car. Everybody seems to have a Mercedes, all the cars on the road seem to have one of the old Mercedeses. But so my journey, what I done personally over there was, when we got there at night they would tell me, there was a group of 8 of us, there was 5 for London, plus 4 plus a pastor, myself, a good friend of mine, Peter from Germany, and a lady that came over from America. And at night time they would come up, the organisers, the pastors, and they would say, right Ted, tomorrow you're going so and so to a church to speak to the children. Well, that was my first one, was to go and speak to the children. So it's a 2-hour drive up to the mountains the next morning, away to speak to the children, into the church. And I go, and there's 50 children sitting there, all eagerly waiting to hear the word of God. And so this is God pushing me again out of my comfort zone. But you know, I knew I had to be in there, that's where I had to be. So and they give you what you have to do with the children. You're basically to tell them a story from the Bible, but you've also to incorporate the children into the story as well, if that wasn't hard enough. So, but it just seemed to come pretty. So the story I done was the 12 disciples and how they spread the gospel. So I had 50 children. I can remember I stood, and the pastor was beside me. He was my interpreter as well. And I said, hands up who wants to be a disciple, expecting 50 hands to go up, and no hands went up. Oh, really? So I'd got some gas in that, so I had 12 pairs of sunglasses. And I says, who wants to be a disciple? And they got a free pair of sunglasses and 50 hands up. So I picked 12 out, and basically they were all my disciples with all their sunglasses on. And as I was telling the story about the gospel, the disciples going out spreading the word, each child, I gave them one of the disciples' names, and they had to go out into the audience and go up to anybody and say, Jesus loves you, He wants you to follow. And that person would come down. So as it went on and on, we had more people coming down. And then at the finish, there was nobody out there, everybody was down here. And that was the idea. The story was spreading the gospel, including as many people as you can. So that was my first day there. In between getting sent to church, we get sent to a church every day, maybe 1 or 2 is. And I got the children to do again near the end, and I incorporated the story of Noah and his ark, and the kids were making animal noises, some that I never heard of, but noises. But then I done a group, and another day, and it's when I felt really, and that was the youth of Albania. And they're all sitting there, and I'm wondering, how am I going to approach this one? So I've done a story about faith and fear, the story of David and Goliath. And you know how teenagers, there's so many fears in their life nowadays. They're growing up, and that went really, really well. What a response I got for the youth, you know what I mean? And later on, as I say, I got out, I was playing football with them, I was mixing with them. The pastor said, Ted, you're a magnet to the youth, that we've got to come to our church. So that's what he was saying. And then the other time I addressed the church, I got to address the full church, which was another, I had to give a line, a small passage for the Bible and how it affected, how it related to my life. And that was another one that it was out of Proverbs 3 verse 24, how I feel safe with Jesus in my life. Nothing bothers me, nothing makes me afraid now, you know what I mean? And that was a message that was put across. So that was four times I had to address the church, which I didn't know I would have to do. So that was that kind of part of it. But there was also so much more. There was food boxes coming in vans. We're helping to unload the food boxes, and we had a big chain as we were putting it in. Every box we were bringing in was for a family that needed it. And I can remember we brought them in on the Monday, and by the time all the boxes were sitting up, there was people starting to come in, and don't come in cars or anything for it. They come in the horse and cart, they come in the wheelbarrows to get their food boxes away. And I say, every one of these families needed the food. Every one of them were hungry. And that's the thing that can help me the most, I suppose. There was real poverty. And I know we get poverty in this country, I understand that, but I've never seen anything like the poverty I witnessed over there. Something absolutely nothing. And I'll just give you a wee example. The child that me and Mark sponsor in the family, I went and visited them, and a lovely wee family, wee Amari and his family, and I got to meet them. And they had a nice wee house. The father was over in Greece berry picking, and he sent money over. And you could see the mum looked after a wee space, a wee bit of ground that she grew food to feed her children. So that was great to see, but when I got back to the base that night, I overheard them saying that tomorrow we're going to another house, but the sponsor of those start family wasn't there, and it says this is one of our poorest, families that we've got on our books, you know. And I asked them, I said, can I go? Can I go? And I said, I want to see, you know, I want to see the real struggles of the real people. So he says, of course you can go. So it's still in this was the hardest bit of my job, because I went to this family, and it was I can always remember it was right up in the mountains, dirt track roads, with me, the pastor, another lady for the organisation, went up, and away we go, and we got to about, maybe it must have been about 100 yards from the house. We didn't know where the house was, what way to go right up this dirt track. So they got in touch with somebody, and the children came down. Mine were running down the mountain, and the mother running down the mountain. One of the kids was bare feet, one of the kids had Wellingtons on, and it was 30 degrees, you know what I mean? And they came down, seen it into the vehicle, and then we followed them up to the house. And went up to the house, it was a barn. This family lived in a barn with a huge hole in the roof, no electricity. The granny, the grandpa, the mother and father, and the 3 children. And the 3 children were gaunt, you know, their face, it was so gaunt. And it really hurt me hard. This was me witnessing what the real poverty, you know, the ones that are really struggling, they had nothing else. These food parcels were what keeps them going, you know what I mean? This is what keeps them alive, basically. Government and that, they don't get any help from the government, they don't get any help from anybody else. When you're up in the mountains, if you've got family, the family when they're older, they can't stay up, there's no work whatsoever. They have to go into the city or go abroad. So it's the population's getting less and less and less in the mountains. The poverty's probably getting worse. So, as I say, we met the wee girls, it was 3 wee girls. And one of the wee girls, I was saying to her through the interpreter, Ken, do you go to school? And a big smile came on her face, and she brought this red folder out, so well looked after, and she brought it up to me, and I opened it up, and the work inside it, she was only 6, was beautiful. It was colouring in, but she was so proud of it. You know, you could see she was so, this was her life in this wee folder, and she was so proud of it. And then she came up, her and her sister started singing songs in Albanian for us. You know what I mean? The old granny was, she was a kind of the boss of the house, if you know what I mean. What she said, that's what they done. And she also brought out a plastic bag. It was so well looked after, you could see it tied in knots, and then she opened it up, and then opened it up again. And inside was 3 pictures, a young man, a young woman, and a man and a woman, different. Right? She told me through the interpreter that was her son and her daughter who had died. And then she started sobbing and crying, and you know what I mean? I was sitting right beside her, and I gave her a big cuddle, and I prayed over her, because I could actually feel the pain coming from this lady, but I could also feel the love that she had shown me when I came into the house. You know, this family had absolutely nothing. But the tradition in Albania is when guests come into your house, you give them either a wee biscuit, a wee chocolate, and a wee drink or something. So the mother had come out with this wee glass with 5 wee toty biscuits, that they could have been the best biscuits in the world, you know what I mean? She gave out, as it says in the Bible, the old lady that gave the 2 pennies, she gave out her poverty, you know what I mean? And she gave them a wee drink each, and you know what I mean? You could feel the love, but you could feel the pain and the struggle that these families go through. So that was a really, but anyway, we gave the child, or the 3 children, clothes. We brought clothes up, jeans and towels and socks and everything like that, and we brought lots of extra stuff up, and they gave them food and that, and you could see. But the old granny said something that stuck with me. She said, we thank you for coming up. What's this? We thank you for coming up, and it's not about the food, it's not about the gifts, it's about you coming up and somebody caring about us, and that can So they were a lovely, lovely family, but as I say, with absolutely nothing. So we left them. What else did I do? On a Saturday, so that they don't have any church on a Sunday, the Saturday's the main day. On a Saturday we went to 3 different churches, one in the morning, one in the afternoon and one at night. The second one, I've never seen young people sing so passionately and all that. Like they shout the words out, and they shout the words out, and they sing and they're praising the Lord, and it was wonderful to see. And we're all standing singing, and I knew the tune, but and the words, basically the words come up, and it's, you know, I was trying to sing in Albanian, but it's a tough one to collect off a notice board. But, so then when some of the songs come on that I knew, I could sing in English, and the Albanian, we're all singing Albanian. What a mix, you know, it's all praising God, you know what I mean? And it's, whether it's English or Albanian, but the mix of the voices was wonderful to hear. And on the 3rd visit, the evening, it's a new church that just got a few months old, and it was really busy. There was men there, which is very unusual in Albania, for men to go to church. But it's mostly the widows, the women, the children, the youths. But for men to go, it's unusual. But in this church there was men, there was women, there was a huge mix. Right. And there was a baptism, the first baptism this church had. Wow. And it was the wee swimming pool out, and the pastor actually broke down before in tears, because this was his first baptism in this church. So yes, he composed his soul, get the baptism done, and it was a wonderful occasion. And once again, they gave us like food and that after it, giving the hospitality. But the thing there also was the wee tub, the water that the girl had been baptised in. We were up the stairs. I wonder how they got to get rid of this. they just opened the window and it just out the window for me there, so that was how they got rid of it. But it was wonderful just to go to churches in other countries and to see this and see, you know what I mean, to see all this happening. It's wonderful. Also, one of the days we had 2 or 3 hours spare, we went to visit this, the pastor's taking us to visit this bridge in Albania, and this is the actual, it's over 2,000 years old, this is the actual bridge that Paul walked over when he came into Albania. The Romans built this bridge, and this is the actual bridge that when Paul came to Albania, this is the bridge that he walked over. So we got photos and we're on it as well, but just to be there in that time, it was a wonderful time. And I know when I went out there, I thought I'll come back, because I'm pretty plain eater, I wouldn't eat much. But the food, everything that was put in front of my head, it was wonderful, wonderful food. There was one sort of, it was a pie, and had green stuff inside it. That was all just this green stuff. Brilliant. I said to the interpreter, what's this I'm eating? He goes, nettles. That's nettles that's inside the pie. But it was wonderful. And that was the theme of the visit as it went on, you know, the kindness shown by everybody, whether it's the pastors, whether it's the people at church. And there was wonderful, wonderful kindness shown. As I say, through poverty, you know, kindness is still there, you know what I mean? There's no bitterness or anything, which, you know, probably in maybe other countries, if they weren't getting things their own way, you could have expected. Also, I'd just like to say what our church done as well. Our church gave, the Cornwall Community Church gave over 150 children a gift. Over 150 children. That was just with the kindness of people putting gifts in, people putting money, people gave me money and I buy gas or to give. And then at the end of it, I had a lot of money left, and I says to, the night before we finished, I says to the pastor, the people that run it, I said, I've got money here for Cornwall Community Church. And he said, oh, that's great. He says, and he said, what do you want us to do with it? And I said, whatever you think, whatever's needed, you do. And this money that I gave them is a summer camp in the poorest bit in Albania, the poorest church, the poorest area. That money pays for the full summer camp for this summer coming up. That's a letter on its way through to Donald. He'll receive that pretty soon. But that was just with the kindness of other people, you know, and the pastors, that, you know, I mean, they appreciate it so much. They tell you all the time, they appreciate it so much you come in to help, you know, because as I say, it's a struggle, And I know times are tough in this country, I know that, I know people struggle in that, but it's less than £1 a day. And if anybody wants to go down the road that I went down, then I've left some leaflets sitting under the basket there, and just lift one, and I'd say, I know times are tough for a lot of people, I understand that, but I can witness, I've seen what I've seen, and I know the money is well spent, you know, I mean, if you want to, then I've seen so many children that's not been sponsored, so, you know, I've seen the folders and that that's not been sponsored, so there's so many children out there waiting to be sponsored, and I think, anything else I want to add? I think that was most of it. But so I feel now in my heart for myself, I think this is a journey that I'm going to be taking. You know, I feel God's put this in me, and I really do. Is that my journey is to go forward, and I've been offered to go to Germany. Me and Mark's got an invitation as well, and also I've got Inverness up in October. But I want to go like further, and they've told me that if I want to, I can go to Guatemala as well with them. So I feel like this is a journey that I'm going to be taking. We all take different journeys, we all take different paths, so do for the glory of God, we do, but I feel this has been put in my heart. So, once again, you know, just for me, for the people of Albania, for the children of Albania, for the gifts that you gave them, for the love you sent them out, people you've never met in your lives, but you know that you've helped people, you know, you've helped children, you've helped give them gifts and give them money for this summer group that goes on for 2 or 3 weeks. That's the Cornwall Community Church. So thank you very much.